So today's verse is Shrimad Bhagavatam, second canto, fifth chapter, and verse number 30. If you're okay, should I start sharing the screen, Maharaj? Thank you. Just give me almost there. I'll increase the font so that you can see it clearly. Over to you, Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vaikarikam Manojagye Deva Vikarika Dasa Digvatarka Prachetoswi Vanin Dropendra Mitrakaha. From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest, and also 10 demigods controlling the bodily movements. Such demigods are known as the controllers of the directions, controller of the air, the sun god, the father of Daksha Prajapati, the Aswini Kumaras, the fire god, the king of heaven, and the worshipful deity in heaven, the chief of the Adityas, and Brahmaji, the Prajapati, all come into existence. Vaikarika is the neutral state of creation, and Tejas is the initiative of creation, while Tamas is the full display of material creation under the spell of the darkness of ignorance. Manufacture of the necessities of life in factories and workshops, excessively prominent in the age of Kali, or in the age of the machine, is the summit stage of the quality of darkness. So catch that line. Manufacture of the necessities of life in factories and workshops, excessively prominent in this age, Kali, or in the machine age, which is also this age, is the summit, which means the highest stage of the quality of darkness. Okay? So we understand what darkness is in its extreme. Such manufacturing enterprises by human society are in the mode of darkness because factually there is no necessity for the commodities manufactured. Just like these different agencies known as corporations and entrepreneurs, they rape the earth for all kinds of ingredients. They manufacture things and then they sell it back to you for a profit. So they're exploiting the earth, trying to make a profit from that, and they give you back something that is not as good as what was originally taken from the earth. So you see the height of darkness. Human society primarily requires food for subsistence, shelter for sleeping, defense for protection, and commodities for satisfaction of the senses. The senses are the practical signs of life, as we explained in the next verse. So here's what is necessary for basic human needs: food, a place where one can sleep for the night, defense for protection, in other words, defending our eating and sleeping, and also mating, and commodities for satisfaction of the senses, certain things that are required for the senses. It makes the senses satisfied, or they fall into the category of necessities, such as knowledge, medical care, like that, various types of gadgets that they create for the satisfaction of the senses, or which are there in nature. Human civilization is meant for purifying the senses. Yeah, that is the one. Atasi Krishna Namari Nabhavedrai Indriya, purifying the senses. And the objects of sense satisfaction should be supplied as much as absolutely required, but not for aggravating artificial sensory needs. So there is a need to give the senses, the mind, the intelligence, but not more than is needed. And of course, not less either. Because by bombarding the senses, they become very difficult to control. And then they develop this desire to want more. So regulation allows for people to live a very peaceful and happy life because they're taking what they need and not more. When they bombard the senses with all of these forms of sense satisfaction or sense aggravation, it just increases the anxiety. And the more you feed the senses, the less they become satisfied. So things should be done in regulation. Not too much, not too little. Krishna addresses this subject matter in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Not too much, not too little. Food, shelter, defense, and sense gratification. Sense gratification here sometimes refers to mating or having children, or all the needs in material existence. Otherwise, in his pure, uncontaminated state of original life, the living entity has no such needs. So when you are in your pure state of consciousness, spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, you don't need to eat, you don't need to sleep, you don't need to do any of the sense activities because the soul is satisfied in and of itself. Therefore, the needs are artificial, and in the pure state of life, there are no such needs. That's Krishna consciousness. As such, increasing the artificial needs, as is the standard of material civilization, or advancing in economic development of human society, is a sort of engagement in darkness without knowledge, which means that going beyond the senses, this is called economic development. Economic development leads to more and more opportunities for sense gratification, which just throws the entire society into darkness. By such engagement, human energy is spoiled. We have energy because human energy is primarily meant for purifying the senses in order to engage them in the satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord. So here's the purpose of the senses, to satisfy the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, being the supreme possessor of spiritual senses, is the master of the senses, Rishikesha. Rishika means the senses, and Isha means the master. That's another name for Krishna. The Lord is not the servant of the senses, or in other words, he is not directed by the dictation of the senses, but the conditioned souls of individual living entities are servants of the senses. They are conducted by the direction or dictation of the senses. The mind, the senses tell you do this, do that, do this, and therefore material civilization is a kind of engagement in sense gratification only. Nunam prabhatta kurute vikarma nayarindriya prite apranoti nasaru manye apanoyam asanna beklesha deha sadeha. So here is the problem. Nunam pramatta. Pramatta means mad. Mad for what? Sense gratification. And it simply leads to darkness or entanglement in more and more suffering. The standard of human civilization should be to cure the disease of sense gratification. So that's a disease, overuse of the senses. And one can do this simply by becoming an agent for satisfying the spiritual senses of the Lord. So here's the antidote. for the disease of sense gratification is to satisfy the senses of the Lord. The senses are never to be stopped in their engagements, but one should purify them by engaging them in the pure service of sense gratification of the master of the senses. Yeah. So we can't stop the senses. So sometimes the senses are called either servants or serpents. Serpents means, animal or snake. And servant means one who provides something beneficial for another person. So we are meant to be use our senses in a way that is serving, but not to serve who? Serve the master of the senses, because the master of the senses is the person who created the senses. And this is the purpose of the senses, to satisfy the master of the senses. So this is the whole essence of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna wanted to, first of all, to satisfy his own senses by his decision not to fight with his kinsmen and friends. But Lord Krishna taught him in the Gita just to purify Arjuna's decision for sense gratification. So he spoke the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, Arjuna agreed to satisfy the senses of the Lord, and thus he fought on the battle of Kurukshetra as the Lord desires. So he was convinced that going his own way was leading to darkness, so he accepted the instructions of the Lord. The Vedas instruct us to get out of the existence of darkness and go forward on the path of light. Tamasimam Jyotir Gama. The path of light is therefore to satisfy the senses of the Lord. So this is being repeated over and over again. The path of light is therefore to satisfy the senses of the Lord, because that's the purpose of the senses. If something has a purpose and it's used in a different way, there will be no benefit, and there will only be trouble and difficulty. So the senses are meant to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Misguided men, or less intelligent men, follow the path of self-realization without any attempt to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord by following the path shown by Arjuna and the other devotees of the Lord. On the contrary, they artificially try to stop the activities of the senses, which is the yoga system, or they deny the transcendental senses of the Lord, the jnana system. They try to satisfy their own senses by not satisfying their senses. Sounds contradictory, but it is a fact. I don't want to satisfy my senses, but I want to gain something by not satisfying my senses. The jnana system. The devotees, however, are above the yogis and the jnanis, because the pure devotees do not deny the senses of the Lord, and they want to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Only because of the darkness of ignorance do the yogis and jnanis deny the senses of the Lord, and thus artificially try to control the activities of the diseased senses. So only because of darkness or ignorance, or you might say envy, which is also a product of ignorance, is that they don't want to satisfy the senses of the Lord. They want to artificially control their own senses and therefore satisfy themselves in that form of control. In the diseased condition of the senses, there is too much engagement of the senses in increasing material needs. Okay. When one comes to see the disadvantage of aggravating the sense activities, one is called jnani. When one tries to stop the activities of the senses by the principle of yoga principles, he is called yogi. Okay? Now we know what a jnani is. One tries to satisfy, sees the senses that are, they're giving me so much trouble, so they want to stop the senses. And that's called a yogi. or they want to use the senses to go above the senses into the impersonal Brahman. But when one is fully aware of the transcendental senses of the Lord and tries to satisfy his senses, one is called a devotee. The devotees of the Lord do not try to deny the senses of the Lord, nor do they artificially stop the action of the senses. So we engage, our senses are active all day long. But why? So we can engage in devotional service to the Lord and try to please the Lord by our activities. They do voluntarily engage in the purified senses in the service of the master of the senses, as done by Arjuna, therefore easily attaining the perfection of satisfying the Lord, the ultimate perfection of life. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarne Panchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So devotees are better at engaging the senses than the non-devotees who don't know how to engage the senses. They engage their senses in the same activities by trying to increase each of the activities more and more. More eating, more sleeping, more varieties of eating and sleeping, more sex life, more varieties, more, and more. And the senses become bombarded and they're never satisfied. It's called satiation, but no satisfaction. And then they burn out. Sometimes they actually burn out where they can't even enjoy sense gratification anymore. They get frustrated. They get somewhat morose. Sometimes they develop deep states of depression, or they turn into something that is very unpleasant within society. They act in the wrong way. So, but devotees, we're expert at using the senses. Why? In the right way. We eat Krishna Prasadam, which is a wonderful activity. It's very satisfying because we're serving Krishna by accepting his mercy. And that is also devotional service. We see the beautiful form of the Lord in the temple, so nicely dressed, standing there with beautiful, beautiful ornaments, nice dress, decorations, and beautiful arrangements around the Lord to enhance the quality of the darshan. All of this is, we call it a feast for the eye. The eye becomes, the mind, the eye becomes very enlivened to see the beautiful form of the Lord in all its variety. And then the nose can smell the beautiful tulsi leaf, sandalwood paste that is offered to the Lord, and also the incense that is offered to the Lord. So there's very aromatic smells in the temple, and you can also do that in your own home. These are all part of the worship. So the sense of smelling also becomes enhanced by engaging in spiritual activities. The sense of touch says that Ambarish Maharaj performed all of the senses in different ways accordingly. So for the sense of touch, he touched the bodies of the devotees. And for the sense of hearing, he hear the beautiful narrations of the glories of the Lord spoken by the great souls. Sense of eyes, seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. Sense of ears, sense of tongue, tasting nice Krishna prasadam. So all of the senses engage. He used his legs for walking to the temple. So he used he used all of the senses for activities in devotional service. And those in household life, in order to create children, they use the genitals for that. And that is actually transcendental when it's done for procreation of Krishna conscious children. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say, if I was a grihasta, I would have many children, hundreds. He said, big numbers, because then using that to bring in souls where you can train them and guide them towards the goal of life, if you can, of course, within reason, of course. And nowadays, people are so impotent, they can't even bring about so many children. But years ago, people would have so many children, so many children. But it was all done as a service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not for some sense satisfaction. So all of the senses can be used. The arms can be used to play the mridanga or the kartals, or to perform various types of worship. So this is Krishna consciousness. Devotees are really expert at using the senses in a satisfying way. Where the non-devotees are trying to use their senses, but they're never satisfied. So devotees always satisfied, but they're never satiated. They're never full. They can't get enough. Whereas the non-devotees, they get tired after a while of trying to satisfy the senses, and they feel very unhappy or morose. And they look for different kinds of sense gratification, thinking that will give them some kind of pleasure. So, Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevana Bhakti Uttama, to serve the Lord of the senses, whose name is Rishika. He's Rishikesh. He is the masters of the senses. It's one of the forms of the Vishnu forms in the spiritual world. The Lord has many four-armed forms, and one of them is called Rishikesh, which also means the master of the senses, of course. So devotees live happily by using the senses. We don't deny the senses. Of course, we restrict the senses according to, as Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, one should regulate the senses for basic needs such as eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. He says these things should be regulated. But therefore, these are bodily needs, and those bodily needs have to have regulation. But when it comes to engaging the senses in the service of the Lord, the devotees can do that for hours and hours and never get tired. So this is Krishna consciousness. So who's actually enjoying? Sometimes people say, well, you Hare Krishnas, you're denying, the actual benefits of life by living a very restricted life. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, like that. Have to meditate. So some people think that this is a kind of imposed suffering, but it's not. It's actually enjoyment. Am I missing anything if I don't eat any of that, what they call it, slaughtered flesh that they kill animals for? Is there some deprivation of life because of not eating meat? And intoxication, so many diseases come from intoxication. And people are getting intoxicated in different kinds of substances. And there is self-help programs for people who get intoxicated. And so they think that this is good. They think this is artificial to restrict the senses in this way. And they think, well, you have your genitals, you can use them as much as you can, enjoy as much as you can. But then there's diseases, there's unwanted pregnancies, there's broken homes, there's so many problems that come from misuse in that area also. And defending, they want to create so many big armies for defense. They want to create so many different kinds of security agencies. We need to defend this, we need to defend that. Remember, years ago when people lived very simply, there were no locks on people's doors. People would leave their doors open and go out. I remember when I was in one area, this was about 40 years ago, the people would drive their car into like a public place and they'd leave the keys in the ignition. No one would steal the car. They'd come back, the car was still there. Now everything is just so much, bars on the window, so many forms of, you know, you know, you gotta, you have to carry a what do you call it? These pepper sprays. If somebody attacks you, you can hit them with a pepper spray. And so many gadgets for so-called defense. No, this is because the progress of Kali Yuga means the progress of darkness. So going deeper and deeper into the illusion of material happiness. So the devotees should be aware of this and not look at the non-devotees and think that they are better off or they have something that we don't have. We feel sorry for them because we understand they're suffering. They try to hide their suffering behind all of the different displays of so-called happiness that they perform. But they're all suffering. And they'll admit it once you speak to him. If you can get to them, they'll admit it. Yes, we're not happy. But they play the role of being happy because it's like I remember there was an old saying. It's called "Are we having fun yet?" So it's a question. Are we having fun yet? So that means we're doing something to have fun. Are we having fun? If you have to ask whether you're having fun, that means you're not. So that's material life. Or sometimes you go to these bars, these liquors bars, they have from 4 to 5 in the evening or some kind of hour they pick. It's called happy hour. So I don't know what they do during happy hour. I never went inside, but I don't know. They call it happy hour. I think they give you like if you buy one drink, you get 2 drinks or something like that. You get twice as miserable or something like that. So they call suffering enjoyment. And then the reactions are so many difficulties come by way of their so-called enjoyment. And they can't figure out why, because they don't know what real enjoyment is. If you're making Krishna happy, you'll become happy. Using your senses in the service of the Lord means to purify the senses, to awaken the spiritual senses, which are full of knowledge and full of ananda, because the soul is eternal, full of joy, and full of knowledge. So devotees We have the most fun in life. It's a fact. And the karmis are trying to have fun. And we're no, we're not trying to have fun, but we're enjoying life more than they are. So it's, you know, so who's better off? So we invite them, come. It's like Prabhupada said, he was saying, you know, we in our one of our temples, I think it was in Los Angeles, the neighbors were saying, well, you guys, you don't work, you don't do anything, and you have so much. You have food, you have nice cars, you have everything, and you guys don't work. We tell them, yeah, come on, you can join us. You don't have to work too, and you can have 4 cars, and you can also have nice enjoyment too. But they think, no, 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 that's not for me. So they can sometimes they see we have so much, but at the same time, we don't work. So who's better off? Okay, so well, and there's so many things we can say to show how the foolishness of the materialists. But we really feel sorry for them because we don't want anybody to suffer, but they accept suffering, and we try to wake them up by saying, here, take this nice food, chant this nice song, come and see some beautiful people. No, we don't have time. We got to work. Got to be miserable. Prabhupada said we invite them to come to the temple. Sometimes they come and we tell them, why don't you stay? Oh, stay. No, no, we're just going. We're going back. So Prabhupada said, from hell to heaven and then back to hell again. So yeah, they make a circle from hell to heaven, back to hell. They have a nice experience sometimes at the temple, but they go back to hell again because they're attached to suffering. Okay, so yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. It's so important to understand. It's a topic as we always hear it, but it's always a very good reminder. And you have explained so nicely about the senses, how we can use our senses in the service of the Lord. Devotees, it's a very important topic to understand. Please ask your questions, realizations, comments, anything. Humble request to keep your cameras on if you can, and you can also type into the chat box if you can. If you can't speak, I've got a comment from Rishabh Prabhu. So I'll read that by the time we're waiting for other questions. So Rishabh Prabhu is saying from Srimad Bhagavatam about begetting children. Kardama Muni desired to beget a child who would be ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should beget a child who can perform the duties of Vishnu. Otherwise, there is no need to produce children. There are two kinds of children born of good fathers. One is educated in Krishna consciousness so that he can be delivered from the clutches of Maya in that very life. And the other is a ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and teaches the world the ultimate goal of life. As will be described in later chapters, Kandama Muni begot such a child, Kapila, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who initiated the philosophy of Sankhya. Great householders pray to God to send his representative so that there may be an auspicious movement in human society. And this is the reason one for the to beget a child. Yes, Namritana Mataji, please go ahead. And then we'll read the another reason later on. Yes.
You
Should I
mean
continue?
there's more to what he has to say? Finish, then
Finish
finish.
it. Okay, it's a bit long. Okay, that's fine. I'll read it. Another reason is that a highly enlightened parent can train a child in Krishna consciousness so that the child will not have to come back again to this miserable world. Parents should see to it that the child born of them does not enter the womb of mother again. Unless one can train a child for liberation in that life, there is no need to marry or produce children. If human society produce children like cats and dogs for the disturbance of social order, then the world become hellish, as it has in the age of Kali. In this age, neither parents nor their children are trained. Both are animalistic and simply eat, sleep, mate, defend, and gratify their senses. This disorder in social life cannot bring peace to human society. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 22, verse 19, the status
Very,
quo.
very good. Thank you. That was, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Thank you. Thanks, Prabhu, Visha Prabhu. Yes, Amrita Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Guru Maharaj, when we are as devotees, when we go into the karmis society, we often face one comment is like, you guys are antisocial. So,
Wait a minute, wait. You're somehow or other not pronouncing the words clearly. So slow down. I missed.
we often get a comment.
Hmm? Hmm?
Okay, am I audible now?
It's not a matter of audible. You were just pushing the words together, and I couldn't distinguish what you were saying.
Okay. We often get one comment as devotees that you guys are antisocial. So, we are not, but we just make a discrimination. But that pose as if we are antisocial because our practices, discriminates to have the association of those which is favorable. So this, how can we tell that we are not actually antisocial?
Well, they do the same thing. They choose who they want to be with and choose who they don't want to be with. Right? Birds of a feather flock together. They're accusing us the same thing of what they do. They make discrimination about who they're going to associate with and who they're not going to associate with. So we do the same. But there's no logic to their statements.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Ultimately, I feel as if they are trying to control only. So even in this statement, I feel that even in this statement, they are trying to pose their controllership. So how do we tell them, delicately that we are not that what you're thinking?
Yeah, come and socialize with us. You're welcome.
Right.
But we're not going to get into drinking beer and getting a hangover the next morning. That's not our type of social environment.
Right.
They're running away with somebody else's wife. They're all crazy, They're never satisfied. That's why they're always coming up with something new. Or if they can't find something new, they criticize something else. It's like if you listen to the media, they're always criticizing each other. It's constant. It's a continuous cacophony of finding fault with others and trying to present oneself as being correct. Goes on all the time.
Yeah.
Because when one is happy, they don't usually run around finding fault with others. Satisfied.
Yes. The dissatisfaction is what the misery they are having. Yeah.
You can't be satisfied with something that doesn't give you satisfaction. If you have something that doesn't give you satisfaction, how are you going to be satisfied? Therefore, when it comes to there is restrictions. Human life means restrictions. Certain things you accept, certain things you don't accept, just to keep the body and the mind working properly. And then even in the restrictions of the items, there is a regulation of that also. The animals are regulated. The animals are also restrictive. But humans don't even follow the animals. They're lower than the animals. It's a fact. Animals are regulated by nature because they work in line with nature. They don't have an independent nature to go outside of nature. They're part of it. But the humans are the only ones that can destroy nature, act outside of nature, and create more and more different things within nature. So, and when they misuse that intelligence, they create so many problems. Intelligence, even from the material perspective, is what is beneficial and what is not beneficial. That's intelligence. But they do things that are not even beneficial. So who can call them intelligent? They're not even intelligent.
Yes, Guruji. When I see them, I feel like the position of Indra, who was in the who was in the body of a hog and was enjoying his life in the body of hog. They don't even realize that where they are is a stool-like place, but they're not even realizing they're happy in that, and they're welcoming us. Oh, why are you not enjoying this stool?
Yeah, because when the happiness of a fool there's the happiness of a fool. They'll do something that is harmful and considered to be beneficial. That's foolish. The cigarette pack says if you smoke, you get emphysema, you get lung cancer, you get complications in pregnancies. You even die because of, and they still do it. And if you were to tell them, it's not good for you, they'll be insulted. You're treading on their sense gratification.
So ideally, just we have to keep ourselves away. Guru Maharaj, can we not help them in any way? Also, they're not ready to listen, of course, but I
Well,
feel compassionate for them.
yeah. If you can see, you want to speak to people who are receptive, who are a little bit maybe suffering, but they're looking for something out of this suffering. But you don't want to waste your time with people you're going to argue with. It's just we don't argue with people like that. It's a waste of time.
Right.
But if they're interested in learning, a little bit opening, or they're really, there's one story. Like here's an example. They have these things called Alcoholics Anonymous, right? So people get intoxicated. So they have their own meetings. So one doctor, he came to one meeting of the Alcoholics Anonymous, and he brought two bottles. One had water in it, and one had alcohol in it. Okay? Good story. Listen. So he took a worm and put it in the jar with the water, and the worm was swimming around nicely in the water. And he took the worm out and put it in the jar of alcohol, and the worm died. So he wanted to show how, deadly alcohol is. So one man who was there, he said, "Yeah, this is actually good because if we drink alcohol, it'll kill the worms in our stomach." So they'll turn everything upside down just to make it sound like it's beneficial.
They have hundreds of reasons, Guru Maharaj, to counteract their argument, but
Yeah, in this age, Prabhupada said you can't really preach for Krishna consciousness. It's people can't understand, not even if they want to understand, they can't. So he said, just emphasize the holy name and prasadam distribution. This is what he said in 1977, which was his last year with us. He saw after so many years of preaching how it was so hard to wake up the non-devotees. So he said, we got two weapons, the holy name and prasadam. Just emphasize these two things. This is our best form of preaching. Of course, we don't give up speaking the philosophy, but still, when we see, people really will become more open to our movement when we see that we have nice food, Krishna Prasad, we sing and dance. That's nice. So they're more inclined to become attracted to those things. But we still preach. We don't give up the preaching, but we understand we should emphasize these other two as our main business.
thank you for the clarification and the wonderful answer. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hari.
Thanks, Amritana Mataji. Any other questions, devotees? While we're waiting, I've got a question, Guru Maharaj. You mentioned about the senses. And I have always a fear in my heart that, I'm continuing to engage like now as with as much enthusiasm as I can. But would that be the same in the future? Would, after 20 years, would I be the same? Would my, feelings, my attachment, my, my interest in Krishna consciousness would be the same? Because, at some point, I feel like I don't want this process to become, boring and, monotonous or things.
I can't believe you're asking that question. It's like,
I,
what it says, as you practice Krishna consciousness, you make advancement. So why should it be boring?
yeah, I know, but it shouldn't be, but there is always a fear because sometimes I feel like, many senior, like I've seen few senior devotees, I feel like they're not as they were before, like, and I see myself as well, Guru Maharaj, as that I think when I joined the movement, I had more freshness in my body.
Yeah. Well, you were fresh because you were new. It's like a kid at Christmas. But then when you get 100 toys, you just start throwing the toys and breaking them. That's what kids do when they get too many. So the thing is, let me see. I had a point I was going to make. What was it? Is that oh yeah, it was a good point. I got sidetracked for a second here. Uh yeah. I mean, if you're oh yeah, okay. If you really want to get into the essence of the happiness of Krishna consciousness, it's sadhu sangha. It's being with devotees, singing, dancing, taking prasadam, sharing Krishna consciousness together. That's the happiness. If we try to do it by ourselves, you might do it for 1 day or 2 days or maybe even a week, but it's sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, association with devotees. Just like sometimes we say, and I've used this in class and other sannyasis have, we come to an area and we say, we're giving a home program or something, and we say, well, how many families are in this particular yatra here? Sometimes they'll say, well, there's 20, or there's 30, there's more than 100. So we say, all right, then everyone, 1 day a week for 1 month, do a program at their house. So you have a program every night of the week, throughout the whole year, every day. So one family can do one program once a month with 30 families or more in the yatra. And usually it's like that. And then you have, you can be always engaged. You can always go and get sadhu sangha. You can get some prasadam. You can get. Why is it so hard? It's so easy. Just make a plan. Get together, make a plan. Sign up devotees. One day a week, in 1 day a month, have a program. Then you don't even have to do it 20, 30 days. You can use the weekends for the temple. So you say you have about, 20, maybe 22 programs a month. Easy. It's really easy. Shakshi, shake up those people in indoor. Get them out of their lethargy there. Where's Manisha? She's on the line too? No. Just shake them up. Say, hey, let's have a program every night of the week. Then they can't complain, oh, we're in Maya. Yeah, whoever comes, that's fine. But do a program every night. Different families. Yeah, you got a nice congregation in Farmington Hills. They can do the same thing. You got congregations all over the world. Families that are interested in Krishna consciousness or doing something. Everyone hold a program once a month. You have programs 366 days a year, including leap year too. I'm serious. I mean, think about it. There will be no lack in Krishna consciousness then. You could always think, all right, who's having the program tonight? Yeah, let me go. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to go to 30 programs, but at least those programs are going on, and there's always facilities. And this will also pull in a lot of new people too. How do you think we're getting new people on our Zoom call here? We're always getting new people on the Zoom call. Why? Because we're doing this Zoom call every day. If we were to break, we wouldn't have the same, amount of people coming. There's always new people on them. I mean, I look on the names and I don't even know some of the names. New people come on all the time. So yeah, when you do something regular, it builds. It builds.
Sure, Maharaj. I try to manage.
So started in London, you have that already. London is no problem. I think they say there's 10 programs going on every night of the week in London, someplace in London. London is like fired up. If you're at home in London, you think, what am I going to do? Just check the roster. There's always something going on every night of the week. Pandavasena, Bhakta Vriksha, programs here, programs there. East London does programs. South London does programs. North London does programs. I don't know about West London. I'm not too sure about them, but
Then
There's so many programs, right?
yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
And you got your Friday night program with Vrindavanath. He does a Friday night program every night, every Friday.
Yes.
Yeah. That's you bringing devotees together, and you'll never be bored. You'll never be like, oh yeah.
Fine, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Then you'll also say, well, we got to work the next day. And then it becomes so hard. That's another excuse. So you don't have to go to all the programs, but you should go, you know. In other words, the availability of programs should always be there wherever you are in the world like that.
Try and do something more. There is few comments. Especially Devi Mataji, you go ahead first and then I'll ask the question.
Thank you, Sati Mama. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Such a wonderful reminder, Guru Maharaj, of how lucky we are, how fortunate we are, how blessed we are to receive the shelter of the pure devotees and, engage in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada said, you have become fortunate, make the unfortunate fortunate. But
Yeah.
that is true, and that's why we do all this preaching, book distribution, etc. But we also see how afraid devotees are of Kali Yuga and all the effects of Kali Yuga, and how they're so frightened. Oh, but if I do this, then how will I pay the bills? Oh, if I do that, how will my children get educated? The other day I heard one lady saying, oh, they're saying you must donate so much, but if I give so much money, how will I be able to manage? This person, this lady, she fell sick and she needed so much money. Not a single person came forward to give a donation. So in such situations, we all have to look out for ourselves. So how we can be expected to give 50% of our income and so on? I said nothing. I was just listening to her. So there's this great fear even among devotees that, hey, make your bank balance, look out for yourself, don't be in a position where you will have to depend on others and so on. And so this fear mentality prevents us from receiving as well as giving our best to Krishna. So what can
You're
be
you're
done to
you're
counteract?
talking about a few people in percentage to the amount of devotees.
Okay.
Mhm. But yeah, when people mix in their material values into spiritual life, they get into a quandary. And then they can't figure out how to balance both. Usually their material life is messed up. And therefore, it impinges on their spiritual practice. And then they complain that they don't have any time for spiritual practice. That's usually the answer. You have to organize your, Prabhupada talks about it, Bhagavad Gita talks about how to regulate your material life in such a way that it supports your Krishna consciousness and not takes away from your Krishna consciousness. If you have too many material desires or material programs and material obligations, that's another thing, then how much time can you spend? And therefore, you don't get much taste out of Krishna consciousness because you're spending majority or the percentage of your time in your material arrangements, material activities. Yeah. So it's a matter of really reorganizing your life. That's all. Krishna consciousness is easy, simple, joyful. Material life really makes it hard. because we're still trying to extract the happiness from material life. And then when we practice devotional service, we can't really put our intention and our enthusiasm into it because so we'll still diverted with all of our material responsibilities or desires, a combination of both. So learn the art of balancing these two things. And the art is live simply. Simplicity is the foundation for success in all aspects of life, not just spiritual life, but in material life too. But association is the key. We want to overcome these tendencies by proper association or Krishna conscious association. That's the answer, Satyabhama. Sadhu Sangha. And Sadhu Sangha doesn't mean just hanging out and talking about, what you did yesterday. It means talking about Krishna, having kirtan, pravachan, taking prasadam together, making plans to serve Krishna together, opening up temples. Mm-hmm. There's a grand temple going to be opened on the 15th of this month. Huge. They call it the glory of Maharashtra. It is an amazing temple.
Where, Guru Maharaj?
In Kargar, in Mumbai.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's so big that Prime Minister Modi is coming for the last day. Who else is there? Kamala, what's her name?
Hema Malini.
Hema Malini. She gave a 6-minute video glorifying it. Former actress. Now she's a politician. Anyway, you have to see that temple. It'll blow your mind. It's like something out of the heavenly planets. Multi-crore project. Crores and crores.
Guru Maharaj, we need temples like this outside India. Srila Prabhupada's mission was to establish, Krishna consciousness. I feel like Western side is going down, and India is ISKCON is, preaching, and everything is flourishing like anything.
Yeah, that's true. India used to be the other way around, but now India's really embracing Krishna consciousness more and more. At least, in a very regular way now.
Dashavatar altars are there in that temple, Guru Maharaj. All the 10 avatars, main avatars, they're having one altar for Dashavatar. It's very gorgeous and opulent.
Plus, they have a huge guest house, beautiful restaurant. Outside is a beautiful, beautiful arrangement for performing activities in the area. There's going to be at least 12 sannyasis are going. People are going from all over just to go to that opening. The program actually started. When did it start?
On 9th of January, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah,
Every day there is some program. And then the grand finale is Prime Minister Modi inaugurating it on the 15th of January.
So the big days are the 13th, 14th, and 15th. But there are preliminary ceremonies going on today, tomorrow.
There's very wonderful Srila Prabhupada's quarters up there, Guru Maharaj. Almost, I would say, or maybe even better than the Juhu place. They have done it up very beautifully. It's really worth going and taking darshan over there.
It's really amazing. It's really amazing. I would go, but it's a little bit, the travel will kind of knock me out. And I have some programs here also, but it's just like phenomenal. They call it the glory of Maharashtra. I mean, that's coming from the media, not from us. Okay, I'm just illustrating how wonderful this Krishna consciousness is, from all aspects. But, taking care of this, doing that, doing this, do that. We get overwhelmed with material activities. And we can't really appreciate Krishna consciousness. I say, if you're married and you don't have any children, join the temple. Why live outside with the karmis? If you have children, you might have to do something different. But even if you have children, I'm encouraging all my disciples who are married, who don't have children, they should be in the temple. They should be in the holy places.
Are grihasthas allowed to live in temple now, Guru Maharaj?
Oh, we just like, for instance, we're building a lot of apartment buildings around the temples. People can live. So make a community right around the temple. And that way you can go to the temple every day, do service and all like that. But grihasthas can also live in the temple. But if they have children, then it becomes difficult for everyone. Yeah, the grihasthas can live in the temple. Why not?
Or make their home
There
temple.
was a time when the moment you become a grihastha, you were shown the door. Out you go, fend for yourself, do whatever you want to outside. You can't live here. We can only support the brahmacharis and the sannyasis. You do your
No,
grihastha life.
I'm not saying you should work outside and live in the temple. There's no need to work anymore. Just go to the
Right.
temple.
Right.
You work. Yeah, Krishna will take care of you, and you'll do service, and Krishna will take care of you. That's all. And you'll be happy. If you don't, if you know. But it's like talking to a wall. Nobody really wants to do that because they think, oh, I'll lose my independence. I can't turn on my TV when I want to. I can't go to Pizza Hut with the guys anymore. Like this false sense of independence based on, trying to satisfy the senses.
Sorry, Maharaj. There is a question from Vrishbhanu Prabhu. The Vrishbhanu Prabhu, you want to go ahead, and then I'll ask question from the chat.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, let me get. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances and pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, what you have said today, it applies to me. It has struck a note with us. We are now in the slow lane, retired, and trying to balance, as you rightly said, material existence, which you need for day-to-day living, and devotional activities. So I'm trying to regulate time, and the key word which you mentioned is very useful, is simplify life. And this is what I'm trying to do, to declutter also mind plus the things in the house, as well as what's around me, and then focus more on the needs for Krishna consciousness, reading, chanting, association. So that really is the path, and thank you for your guidance to us. On a brief note, if I can comment on this new glory of Maharashtra, I was, well, with my wife here, we were very, very fortunate to be part of the Bhumi Pujan ceremony. And Surdas Prabhu, who is the, let's say, the vision and the president of the project, I was there, and on that day, it was just pandals and open land. What you see now is really a lot of efforts which have gone through many years, including the time of COVID when things were slowing down. But it was a very, very hot day.
40 degrees.
So hot that you feel like you are holding a hair dryer on your face all the time. And I thought this is a test of Krishna and what will be here in this open space. It's surrounded by mountains, beautiful scenery, very pure, unpolluted. But today, it's a place where I would love to spend more time. I would have loved to be there for this, to see the end result and to see the Bhumi Pujan ceremony. But due to some commitments, health reasons, I'm not able to do, but I would love to make good use of the temple and its Ayurvedic facilities for future. Thank you, Maharaj. I just wanted to add a few comments.
Thank you. That was very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Balakrishna Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to Vaishnavas everywhere. Guru Maharaj, something that Amrita Mataji mentioned kind of triggered a question in me. She said, we are perceived as antisocial. And I bring that into my own life. I came very late to Krishna conscious, which means I have a lot of friends. And my entire life revolved around them before, around family and friends. And that means going to events, right? Endless events, either events or quote unquote parties. So now I have cut out all the parties and I'm examining their friends. These are not bad people, Maharaj. These are amazing people. I've gone on, so sometimes I have friends who we used to go on charity runs for in Detroit. Like we'll go to Focus Hope, we'll go to Winter Harvest, something like that. There's nothing really wrong with them. These are wonderful people. So now I'm being asked to abandon them. Sometimes I feel like, and that is a little distressing. Should I truly abandon them? Can I associate with them? What's the instruction, Maharaj?
Yeah, just bring them in.
Believe me, Maharaj, I'm trying. So one good thing is they see me and they ask questions, because it's unusual for somebody to give up the addictions that I had so late in life that quickly. And I said, this is not possible. It's impossible. It's only possible because of Mahamantra. And they are curious. They ask me questions, and they thought my joy came from alcohol. And now they see that it's not true. It's even more joyful. So they are very curious and they ask questions, and that could be a gateway. I'm trying to get them in. Yeah.
I think in your case, I wouldn't always give the same answer to everybody, but in your case, keep that connection and try to bring them in. But by your example is the best way. And when it comes to breaking the principles, you just have to say, well, I don't do that anymore, because actually, I feel happy doing these other things. I don't need these things anymore. You can be positive about Krishna consciousness and be somewhat dismissive about material enjoyment. You don't have to smash material enjoyment. They may not appreciate it, but just be dismissive. That's all.
Right, right. And I've also made the distinction that I said, if you're having a party, I'm not going to show up, but there are endless events. There's like birthday parties, landmark parties, even pujas. Basically, in the karmi world, a puja is a party.
Well, what do they do at every party? Alcohol.
And I think it's also, Maharaj, there's a subtle aspect there. What they truly crave is the association.
Them.
Nobody parties alone. So there's some clue there.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is put a person in solitary confinement.
Exactly. So even the party may have alcohol, but what they truly crave is your association. Yeah,
yeah, but that kind of association doesn't really
bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't really, and they're, when it's all over, they're not like, better off. They're just more tired. That's all.
In fact, yes,
yeah,
Maharaj.
Yeah, you can be their guru. Just bring them in.
Very bold. I'm extremely unqualified guru, but I'll try, Maharaj.
So we give you the blessings and whatever else you need to be successful.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
When you can also, when you're with them, say, "Hey, let's sing and dance. I know a nice song."
Right.
We can all try
it. Yes, Maharaj.
Shakshi, she's up.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you and the assembled Vaishnavas. Maharaj, sometimes we know what things we need to do and what things are beneficiary in our devotional practices, like chanting without offenses is beneficial, and overindulgence in sense gratification is not beneficial. So sometimes we know what to do, what not to do, but because of the agitated mind who doesn't wants to cooperate, and because of that the emotions are thrown apart. So, and I feel like I'm a lot on the mental platform. So how can I overcome this? And you can suggest something.
Where's our illustrious host there? She's still awake? Oh, yes. Very good. Big smile. Thank you. Okay. Go to Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, sure.
634, I think it is. I think it's 34.
Oh, sorry.
Bhagavad Gita. 6, I think it's 34. Let's see. Stop at 34 and we'll look at it let me see. Yeah, go ahead. There you go. So, Shakshi, read the translation.
Yes, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Now, go to the next verse, 35. Krishna answers.
Lord Krishna says, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Suitable practice means devotional activity, detachment from sense gratification. So he says, he doesn't say it's going to happen all at once. He says you have to practice these things. And you can read the purports, they'll give you a greater insight of what is being said. But basically, you're right. The mind is not, it can The mind is a thing in itself. It can make a heaven out of hell and make a hell out of heaven. I was reading some quotes on the mind today. It says, the mind will give you a commentary on life. Focus on life, not on the commentary. That's one thing I read today. Pretty good, huh? There's a few other ones. I can't remember the other ones, but yeah. So yeah, so you're going to have to practice Krishna conscious, and same time you have to see what are those things in my life that is blocking my spiritual advancement. Wrong association, being lazy in my spiritual practice. See where the deficiencies and how to work on them. At the same time, chant, practice Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Manoj. I think like I lack patience. That's one of the things.
Well, Krishna Rupa Goswami explains Utsaham Nishtaya Darya. Darya means patience. Patience means trust in Krishna. If you're trusting that Krishna will reciprocate, and he will. He's reciprocating, but he may not be able to detect it, how he's reciprocating. But after some time, you'll start to see. And you'll experience leaps in your Krishna consciousness if you stay steady in your practice. The leaps don't come just like leap year comes every 4th year. So it doesn't come every year. So leaps don't come all of a sudden, so regularly. They come after some time. If you're looking for leaps, they'll come. Just stay steady in your Krishna consciousness, that's all. And practice properly. Krishna speaks to Brahman. He says, following the proper practice of Krishna, perseverance in practice, he says. Learn the practice and become fixed in the practice. If you don't know how to practice, then you should get instructions and guidance from someone who does. See where you are deficient in the practice and find out how to overcome that. If you're doing the practice and you're steady in it, the leaps will become more frequent. But if you're either doing the practice wrong or you're not steady, then slow. Then patience is tested.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. That was really very instructive. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Well,
Thanks, Lakshmataji. Any other
So-
situations? Please go ahead.
okay, so Passion, we knew you would come in sooner or later. There he is.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my obeisances. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Sorry, I'm a bit late today, Maharaj. Come.
Well, you're usually like that anyway. You're either first or last, either one. It's never in the middle.
I just wanted to ask, in the verse we talk about satisfying Krishna's senses. So if we satisfy devotee senses through Krishna consciousness, is that the same?
Well, it depends if you satisfy it in a Krishna conscious way.
Yes.
But sometimes devotees you might satisfy their senses, but it's not Krishna conscious.
Right.
You have to make sure it's in line with the principles of devotional service. Proper association, proper interaction with devotees based on service, hearing, chanting. Just like there are 6 loving exchanges between devotees. Follow those 6 loving exchanges, and they're the basis of devotee interaction. Prabhupada put everything in those 6 loving exchanges. Mention Nectar of Instructions, verse number 4. To speak confidentially, to hear confidentially, to give gifts, to receive gifts, to give prashadam, and to receive. These are the 6 loving exchanges between one devotee and another.
I had a very nice exchange yesterday. Mataji knocked on my door. She was doing book distribution. You may know her name is Sachimata. She's a Bhakti Charu Maharaj disciple. She knows you very well, Maharaj. But it was so lovely. She just came out of nowhere and had such a lovely interaction with her on my doorstep. And I was able to give her a donation to give out books, and it was just felt so wonderful.
Yeah, see, there's an example. This is simple in interaction with a devotee. One is feeling happy. Devotees make you happy. Sometimes. For most of the times.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Sridevi's got question number 108. Okay.
Question, Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to share something that I thought was really significant. It was spoken by this young Prabhu here in Mayapur, who has done his PhD on the Sat Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. So he said, Jiva Goswami quotes that he quoted Jiva Goswami as saying that if we are in the association of pure devotees and we are not really strenuously trying to purify ourselves, then we will make offenses. And if we make offenses in our service or in our practice of bhakti, then 5 things are going to happen. Crookedness will come or increase. We will develop faithlessness in this process. We will increase our material attractions. We will have dwindling of bhakti, and we will have lot of pride coming in. In other words, if we continuously make offenses in spite of knowing that we should not do, and then I asked him, oh my gosh, what offenses are the most dangerous? Because there is Nam Aparad, Dham Aparad, Vaishnav Aparad, Guru Aparad. He said, number 1 and number 7 of the 10 offenses to the holy name are the most detrimental for our devotional life. And that is blaspheming the devotees of the Lord who are engaged in propagating his holy name. And number 7 is committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's illustrated. One is called the mad elephant offense, and one is called the most dangerous offense. Number 1 is the mad elephant, and the other one is nam nam yasya hi papa booty. Papa booty, not just booty, but papa, sinful, yasya. So yeah, these two are very detrimental to our Christian. So association with devotees can be also what is called double-edged. So if you're in the mood of service, then you won't fall victim to these wrong ideas. If you're in a mood of enjoyment, then there's danger that you might commit offenses. So when you associate with devotees, it requires a certain mindset on how to serve. Or to exchange Krishna conscious with other devotees. That's also a form of service too. I like to distribute prashadam. So when I see a devotee, I think, okay, let me check the refrigerator and see what we got. You came at the right time. So I like to give out prashadam. So that way devotees are benefited. Because prasadam is one of the loving exchanges between devotees. So you can also do that. So yeah, that was a very important thing you mentioned, that it's not always one way. It could go the other way if we're in the wrong consciousness, or if we're trying to. So usually devotees don't preach to each other. We preach in forums that allow us to preach, but when we're together, we kind of like just share Krishna consciousness, develop friendship like that, do the 6 loving exchanges.
Thanks, Maharaj. There is a question from Rasavilasni Mataji in the chat. I'll read that for you. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and assembled devotees. I think Silpesh Prabhu has already asked my question, but just asking as usual. When you were explaining about the senses, I feel that it is very difficult for women because they have to satisfy the senses for their husband, children, relatives, so on. So, Maharaj, my question is whether it is appropriate to satisfy their senses if the person is spiritually inclined.
What does that mean? If I don't understand that last statement.
Oh, she just asked that you have like I think indirectly have already answered the question.
So the question is, as a wife or as a mother, you have to get into more sense gratification. That's not.
Yeah,
There's
no,
no.
she was asking. So, Maharaj, my question is whether it is appropriate to satisfy their senses if the person is spiritually inclined.
If that same person is spiritually inclined.
Yes.
Well, I mean, okay, you have your duties as a wife. And so if you do your duties as a wife, then that fulfills that obligation.
Yeah.
One of the things is that wife should be very attentive to the needs of the husband. Not that if he wants to do something sinful, she should go along with it. That's not attentive to the needs. She should make if he comes home from work, she should make him feel comfortable because he's working with the non-devotees. Now he needs a relief from that. She should make nice dinner when he comes home. She should also speak very sweetly and pleasantly to him instead of hitting him with all the problems that she's experiencing. Solo, you got a big smile. You're making me laugh with your smile. You must be thinking of something. Yeah, there is a duty that makes the marriage, what we say, workable. The husband should be very concerned to give protection, affection. Husband has to give protection, affection, and nice clothes, nice food, and what's the other one? 3 things.
Nice ornaments.
Ornaments, jewelry, yeah. So, yeah, husband has to give jewelry, nice clothes, and food, and affection, and protection. And the wife should give affection, see the needs of the husband, try to satisfy his needs, not complain about this, that, or this or that. And don't try to instruct your husband. If you want to control your husband, you have to do it without instructing him. And that's the art of womanly role. The women have to learn that art. If you want your husband to do something, you don't tell him how to do it, but you learn the art of how to give it, to tell him without telling him. Women know how to do that. They're expert. But when they tell the husband how to, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, he thinks I was better off at the office. Let me go. If you want to ruin a marriage, keep telling your husband what to do all the time. It'll ruin it very fast. Because men got big egos and they don't like to be told what to do by their wives. But if they can do it in a sweet and loving way and get the message across, then it works. But that's the art of, marriage, which I'm not so much, uh, I don't have that much experience in it. So, but I hear a lot, I read a lot from Bhagavatam, and I hear, I mean, Prabhupada said all of these things. I'm just repeating what Prabhupada says. He talked about everything like that. Just like one of my disciples, we were in Mayapur together. He came to me, he said, Maharaj, I had a dream last night. He said, you appeared in my dream and you gave me a sari. And then I was thinking, why would I give him a sari? But then I thought, and I said, yeah, it wasn't for you, it was for your wife. You're not doing it, so I came in to help you. And then he realized he wasn't really attentive enough to give enough gifts, or so then he gave her a green sari. So I don't usually do that, but anyway, it came out like that. But so yeah. So if women the woman has to be appreciated by her husband, and therefore he should give gifts at regular intervals. And the woman should be very, very careful that she very gives a lot of attention to the husband. He needs that, especially if he's working. He needs that. Not that he craves it, but he needs it. He definitely needs it. Otherwise, why get married? You don't get married so you can have a work partner, There's a lot of work partners at the office. And sex life is not the happiness of married life. When Krishna was teasing Rukmini, when Rukmini was talking about how, she's not worthy of him, Krishna just turned it around. No, Krishna was teasing her just to see if she would get angry with him. He was saying all bad things about himself, saying, you made a mistake, you're wrong, married the wrong guy, you didn't even know who I'm. I come from a gotra of cowherds, and he's saying so many things about himself, and he's waiting for her to get angry and show her love in an angry way, but she didn't. She fainted. She collapsed. It said she fell like a tree falls by a hurricane. And then Krishna realized, oh my God, I blew it. So he lovingly picks her up, and then she turns the whole thing around and says, what woman would take another person who's decorated with hair, mustaches, beards, skin, bones, and inside is all kinds of foul substances. She gets into all of these things. Who would take a body like that over you? And so he's joking with her, she's joking with him. So the purport is, after she says all that, you can read it. It's 10th canto, 60th chapter, verse number 45. It's really enlivening for the ladies. You got to real, if you're a lady, read this purport, 10:60:45. And then it ends, it says, the happiness in married life is somehow if you can exchange joking words with your wife. Anyway, if you're enthusiastic, take a look at that verse, 10:60:45. And the purport is just as good as the translation. And there's a series of verses that lead up to that purport, which culminates in that one, that purport, that verse.
Thank you, Maharaj. I hope everyone has got the verse. Please look at it if you want to. Amrita Namaraji.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. I will read, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
You sure now? You didn't seem. Okay, I'll accept your appreciation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for that verse. I think, of course, definitely the ladies would go and read for sure. The quick question is, Guru Maharaj, the man's ego is the feature of Kali Yuga, or is it the traditional?
No. It's innate in the male species.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Dr. Obama is making a face like a grapefruit there.
No, I did not understand what you said, Guru Maharaj. Man has got what?
Men have egos. They have big egos. Generally.
Guru Maharaj, Krishna consciousness to me, actually, that whatever you just explained before, few minutes, I have have practically witnessed it, and I've tried to work out with that. So yes, it takes a lot of energy as well, and if you're not trained in that way, but yes, it takes some intelligence to deal with the man's ego. I've definitely learned that thing.
Affection is the way to do it. That's one of the major missiles. Affection. Genuine.
Yes, so much. Thank you.
Yeah, Sri Devi.
Your advices has always proved to be a wonder for me, Guru Maharaj. With your advices, I think I have stopped where I had to, and I have walked where I had to. So, and I always feel grateful for that, Guru Maharaj. Doing that. Thank you very much.
Everything I know or say is coming from Prabhupada. That's all I can say.
Yes, ultimately Prabhupada has saved me.
We listened to Prabhupada, he covered everything. But he always connected it back to Krishna. That was the key.
Yes, Kumar. I think somebody mentioned that Sri Devi Mataji mentioned, I'm not sure in this class, but when I see, if I talk about my realization, when we take risk in Krishna consciousness, when we try to find adventures in Krishna consciousness, things will not be monotonous. It will keep going. So what I have seen is like I I keep my I keep myself planned. Doesn't matter it's getting executed at present or not, but I keep that desire, which is of course what my guru also wants. So I keep that desire, and then the plan keeps going and going and going. Somewhere at some point, you get something which is going to amaze you, and you want to do it.
Yeah. What does they say? What is that thing? In due course of time, everything becomes wonderful.
Yes. For me, I think Krishna consciousness has always been exploring. Exploring Krishna consciousness is fun for me.
Yeah. If you have that eagerness to learn more, to experience more, you'll see that there's a whole world out there.
Yes. It's not always in our favor, but I love watching what Krishna has stored in the box, in the closed box. By eventually, in the meantime, the box will open, and you realize that what was there.
Mhm.
So I've gone through some phases which has shown me that, and now I feel yes, I want to see more.
Yeah. And if whatever happens, connect to Krishna. Sri Devi, I guess this is the last question because I have a very patient guest here who's been waiting for the last hour.
Okay. Yeah,
Feeling very-
yeah, I'm just trying to formulate the words correctly, Guru Maharaj. You said that the male ego, is very strong and it is innate. But when men come to Krishna consciousness, just as Srila Prabhupada said, women are less intelligent, but when they come to Krishna consciousness, they are as intelligent as their brothers. So similarly, when men come to Krishna consciousness and understand that, really speaking, we're all female because we are enjoyed by Krishna, we are only meant to serve Krishna, then does that male ego get sublimated or converted to a, serving mentality
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. Gradual. It's a process. Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you. There's hope then.
don't don't try to outdo the male ego though. You might be in for
I'm
a
not
surprise.
even trying that anymore, Guru Maharaj. I just skirt around it. I just avoid it. I don't even go for it anywhere. I'm just giving them a wide berth and minding my own business.
Keep going. I theoretically accept your answer. But that means I accept it.
Thank you. Because I really don't want any more problems. I had enough. Guru Maharaj, I honestly believe, and I have no proof of this, but many times Krishna shows me I must have been a male in my previous birth, I really must have been a male. And I made so many mistakes and did so much aparadh and did so much nonsense that in this lifetime, Krishna has made me pay the price for, doing all that stuff. So I think that, I've learned my lessons by coming back in a female body.
Whatever it takes. Some females have learned a lesson by coming back in a male body. The danger is when you have a female who has a male mentality. I've seen that in children also, young kids. They're more the other gender than they are their designated gender. You can see that sometimes. And that has to do with previous lives also. Karma is very intricate. Okay, I'm going to have to say goodbye, at least for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. You'll be back, Satyabama, tomorrow also?
Tomorrow, I'm not sure who is hosting. Not me.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll see you all tomorrow, and we'll continue with our classes. Nice, a nice section of the Bhagavatam. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Really, I want to say, Guru Maharaj, today's class was so enlivening, so many different facets, and it's like a gem, Every time you speak, there's a light shining on a different aspect of Krishna consciousness, which is truly wonderful. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do have the lights on here, so the lights are on.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for your time.
We try to keep the lights on. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you,
Thank
Guru
you.
Maharaj.
Very much.